Perfect. The next panel is Brand Building and Social Media Strategy by Laura Kirkpatrick and Isabella Acker.
Hi, everybody. How we feeling today? Did you guys learn something? All right, well, we're going to do some more teaching and let you know what we got to tell you about brand building and social media strategy. First of all, just wanted to say thank you all for being here today and for every single one of you here. How many people are here? Do we know? 200 something? In and out? Okay, well, cool. We're going to say 200 for the sake of that. That's awesome. And for everybody watching at home, hello to you, including my mom. She's definitely watching this. But yeah, without further ado, just wanted to get into this and get the ball rolling. So you could hit the next slide and the next one. So yeah, just want to introduce ourselves. My name is Laura. You might know me as LXO. I have worked in social media for the past 4-ish years here in Miami, working across probably some of your favorite venues, Space, Factory Town, as well as 3 Points, and a little bit of every other venue in our ecosystem, which has taught me a lot. So I'm excited to share everything that I've learned through that experience today. And also, interestingly, my history and background is not in music, but I ended up here. Unless you consider stalking boy bands a profession, which it's not, but that's a topic for another day. I first was introduced to brand building and the art of storytelling in college. I worked for a lifestyle and fashion magazine where I was able to creative direct a lot of shoots, which really helped me understand what is visually striking, aesthetic, and important to tell a story. From there, I went on to intern at Paper Magazine in their internal marketing advertising agency called NTech Media, where I was able to sit in on big brand meetings with some of the account executives on one of the biggest publications in pop culture, and we talked about all of these different brand focused campaigns. So, like World Pride, for example, was one of our campaigns that we did with American Express. We also did a Pride collaboration with Urban Decay. And in these rooms, hearing the budgets, hearing the ideas, hearing the brainstorming really allowed me to understand what is valuable and important in the aesthetic side, the consumer side, and the just brand storytelling side of what we're here to talk about today. So that somehow landed me here in Miami, where I got my master's degree and went on to do exactly the same thing that I did at the agency in this unique program with Miami Ad School. And through that program, I met someone in the music industry who plugged me. And thank God I met him. His name's Carlos, wherever he is, if he's here or if he's online. Hey, Carlos. That's him back there. And from there, I hit the ground running, got my foot in the door, and did everything that I could to stay here. And yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Hi guys, I'm Izzy, founder of Tigre. I'm really excited to be here today. Oh, sorry, can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm really excited to be here today. Yeah, I don't normally do public speaking, but this is a topic I love talking about, mainly because I also had to find, I think, my own lane and space and how I wanted to build community in South Florida. I remember when I moved here, so I moved here 15 years ago from Atlanta, and yeah, I got involved in the music industry. It felt like it was a different scene back then, you know, it was very alien and feeling how I wanted to understand what is the landscape, you know, and how I could paint the town with my colors. And there was a feeling of how do I find my people, my community. I didn't know anybody when I moved here. So, yes, sorry, quick tangent. So, quick bio. Started as an artist manager. Shout out to my first company, Black Key Group. We were supporting a lot of cool local bands. I then moved into concert marketing. I was the director of marketing for South Florida for Live Nation. Moved into community building and cultural programming. My former company was called Prism Creative Group and Culture Crusaders. Our whole thing was how do we, find our people in creating counterculture in our own lane, you know. And so it's been a really amazing journey of finding, I think, your superpower with you're also the things that you're trying to, building a brand is your perception into the thing you want to put out into the world, and how do you get people to care about that, and I think that it's such a deeply human feeling that we're all kind of on that search. It's a forever journey. And with the work that we're doing at Tigre, which we're a hybrid media platform and creative agency, it's been really around rebranding global sounds and how you can reach it to wider audiences. It's been a really amazing musical exploration. I'm excited to kind of get more into it as we go to it. But yeah, I'm very happy to be here. All right. Is this you? Is it me?
Yeah, so we're going to kick it off with just talking about the foundation of brand building and what it means to define your brand. You could go to the next slide. So, by definition, brand at its core is about differentiation, standing out by establishing a unique identity that connects with the right audience. But that's the Webster Dictionary version of the definition of a brand. But a brand is so many different things. I think by being here, you all are looking to understand better what it means to define your brand, right, Izzy?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think the first step is absolutely getting clear on really the thing that you care about. Like, how are you getting more people interested in this thing that you're building? Like, building resonance is something that is such an important part of getting so clear on this. And I think that's something that we have some kind of like key takeaways and how you guys can do that right now.
Definitely. You could go to the next slide. Oh, perfect.
So the word test about defining your brand in 3 words. I think it's important to really recognize the mindset shift from artist to brand, and thinking about your 3 brands as personality, values, and experience. And if you guys actually want to take this moment to maybe just jot those down, I think it's something that helps as a clarity exercise to really be able to land in on that. The second being authenticity versus trends. You were gonna kind of speak to this, right?
Yeah, so I think it's really just understanding what it is and who you are and who you're going to show up as online. And when you do show up online, are you doing it because, okay, I didn't post today, I got to post today just so I can check the box of defeating the algorithm for the day? No. You need to be intentional. And if you are going to follow trends, I think just kind of being a student and always keeping the framework of being a student and being a sponge and trying to absorb as much information about what is going on in the social media landscape at all times, and using that and applying that to your own social media practice for your brand, I think.
And being honest, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Like, that's something that just translates immediately.
Yeah, and I think the next one, creativity versus commercialization. This is the kind of a similar approach to the one I just spoke on, but there's just so many external factors that come into play when you want to create for your brand, because you're thinking of the type of content that you're creating and how it's going to land in alignment with your own brand, but also how it's going to land in the ether of the internet, right? You can have this idea and say, oh, this is going to be great for my brand, this is going to be great for our account, but then you put it in front of a million people and it flops, and that happens, and that's okay. And it's just not getting discouraged and always remaining authentic and just understanding why you're creating content and not just following the trends and going with the commercialization of what social media has become and its ever-changing, crazy, crazy world.
Yeah. The last one being branding as storytelling, not self-promotion. I actually really love this one. I think that so many people are struggling with this, so many organizations, personal brands, and it's really thinking about how can you bring people into your marketing rather than push marketing. Everybody's trying to push their new single releases, streams, concert tickets, right? We're all trying to get people excited about this, but there's something to be said that you're just reaching humans, and the storytelling approach and being creative on that is such a muscle, right? I think some of the biggest organizations, the biggest brands are sitting in boardroom meetings trying to figure this out. But where marketing has come now, it's it's such an important part to think, am I pulling at people and bringing them in, or am I screaming at them, And I think it's always good to be really self-aware, look at the blind spots of, yeah, like treat people like they're smart on the
Yeah,
internet.
definitely.
And I would love, Laura, for you to kind of with your work with 3 points, you have this incredible task, year round, 365 days a year to sell hundreds and thousands of tickets. Like, I would love to know, and everybody here, how you approach kind of storytelling. Obviously, the main KPI being selling tickets, but how do you approach that?
So, luckily, with 3 points, there are so many stories to tell. That property and that festival is so magical. And show of hands, how many people have been to 3 points? That was the correct answer. And I just think that it really provides such an opportunity to tell stories no matter what the situation is. But I think for this specific case, for your question, I think, for example, we have, I think 12 stages is how many we had last year. I don't know. Every year there's like a new stage that pops up, and I don't understand how, because the footprint is getting bigger, or we just popping up. I don't know. But with those 12 stages, there are 12 different identities, 12 different variations of curation, 12 different sounds, 12 different audiences, and people that subscribe and show up to those stages, like sequence stage, strong brand, strong sound, techno, like we got that. Every other stage has a similar identity, and I think when we announced the lineup by stage campaign, which this year is something that I want to put a lot more effort and creativity in, because there is so much to be said about each stage. When we roll out that campaign to truly and authentically tell the story of each one of those stages, because it's exciting. And in addition to the amazing lineup and curation that we do, each stage and its like the nerdy techie stuff behind it is like equally interesting as the lineup, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
So with that, I think also has a lot to do with world building, like what you talked about, and talking about how like when an artist is releasing a song, it's like, where are you taking that? Where are you putting your audience in the moment when you're rolling out a release? And similarly here, when we're building a world for 3 points, it's like, what does the audience feel, and what does it sound like, and how does just you're building a world for your audience to immerse themselves in within fully. And I think that's something that's a really important thing to remember when you're building a brand. And we'll get on more on that later.
I mean, I think a key takeaway here, really thinking about what's a mental block you have about branding yourself. I think a lot of people have, a love-hate relationship with social media and building a brand, and I think it's really important to look at that, because at the end of the day, it's your creative expression. You have your own way that you're gonna do your thing, and people will connect with that. So it's about building the muscle to be free. Like, in the end, we're all trying to be more free from things that are holding us back. And, you really like tapped in and doing the thing that you're great at, finding your allies, your team, beginning to build the people that can help execute, and sharing your vision is like, you got to be expressed.
So with all that considered, now we're going to move into kind of the strategy of taking all of this that we talked about and building the brand and building the world visually, digitally, and just what that looks like. So you can go to the next slide. So with that, there are 3 things that I feel and I have used and seen in my practice that have helped me stay true to whatever brand or account that I'm working on, and it is taste, attention, and uniqueness. And taste is the secret ingredient to your visual identity. Attention is the art of stopping the scroll, and uniqueness is the key to standing out. And we're gonna dive a little bit deeper on these. Next slide. So, in my opinion, aesthetics grab attention before words do. Like, if I'm scrolling on my feed and I see something visually striking and engaging, I will see that before I see what it says, personally. I don't know if anybody can relate to that, but with that being said, your taste is your stylistic signature and is something that should be copied, replicated over and over again, so that your audience will always understand and see when you show up as this signature and with this moment or in this taste, they know it's you. Everybody has their flair, and something also that's important to consider is your taste isn't going to be for everyone. I have tasted a lot of things that I don't like, and I think that everybody can relate to that. And when it comes to you and your brand, it's just making sure that whatever you're presenting and whatever you're embodying is true to you and what makes you you. Next slide. So now we're going to get into visual identity, and this is something that swings on many sides of the spectrum. And this is just one of a million examples that I use. This is Caroline Polachek with her Desire album rollout. I didn't even know who Caroline Polachek was. That's like a really horrible thing to say out loud until she played on the 3 Points lineup. But once I saw her art and how deeply it resonated with her visual styling and how everything was presented, whatever she was selling, I bought into it immediately. And I think that this is an amazing case study that proves that your taste is very like in line and embodiment to whatever you're trying to sell. And I think that the more authentic you are through it, like the brighter it shines. So just always remember that whenever you're building a brand. But this obviously is very high level and very curated, manicured, polished, and beautiful. But there are also like emotions that come from this. It puts you in her world. But there are also, at its like rawest form, you could go to the next slide, other opportunities for you to shine in this moment. And what deeper and rawer of an emotion can you have than literally singing in your bedroom? And you could press play. This is Dochi. Do we have audio? Well, who knows this video? A handful? Is there no audio? Oh, okay. Well,
It was working earlier.
well, I will share a link to this. Everybody can personally take this link from my personal phone after this because I think everybody should watch this. The emotion and raw, authentic, just talent that comes out of this video it's so pure and it's so her. And that's something that I think is another testament, just to juxtapose the one before. It doesn't need to be curated. It doesn't need to be high budget. It doesn't need to be high level. You can, at your rawest form, be expressing yourself in this be your taste, in this be your style, and it still hit and resonate with an audience. So I just wanted to provide an example that's much more curated and highly produced, and something that is also so real and so raw that other people can resonate with as well.
Absolutely. It's honest. You know, you really connect with that. I think you can go to the next slide.
Yeah, we could go to the next slide. And taste is everything when it comes to attention. It's not enough to grab someone's focus, but you have to keep it. And you could go to the next slide. Truthfully, this is the $1 million question: is how do you stop the scroll? If I knew the exact answer, I don't know where I'd be. That's literally the $1 million question that all branders and marketers around the world are seeking out. But to begin and break it down like in a super granular form, I think that it's just creating something that makes you stop, which means, is there something catchy in the first 3 seconds, like a hook or some, not clickbaity, because we left that in the past, but whether it's a caption, on-screen text, something punchy in the caption, or a song that'll make you stop. I remember there was I think it was a Floyd or a Ground flyer that went out the other day that I usually will just scroll past flyers, but the song over it was like, I've been a nasty girl. I was like, what is this coming from the Ground account? And then I looked at it and I was like, okay, that worked. Silly example, but it was effective.
I mean, I think so much of this also is like you have to really polish the muscle of putting things out and trying so many things. I mean, if we were to measure the things that we did based on engagement of some of the artists that we like and we didn't have enough engagement on it, I think we wouldn't be so committed to, you know, building emerging and like counterculture. It's like you really have to continue to refine, you know, everything in the process of publishing the thing that you care about, you know, whether it's a campaign, the song, the shows. I mean, this is it's creative marketing in so many ways, and I think that's in the end, it's your message. How are all the ways that you can put it out? Who are your allies? Who is going to like help you build this visual world? Who's going to help you get turned into real people going to shows? It's like so much of just doing it, you know? And I say that so you can just like make this process more joyful. I think there is the feeling around like sometimes, I mean, I've had a lot of this like personal experience, like, does anybody care about the kind of music that I care about? And like, do people want to see this? It's like you have this moment around like, am I an echo chamber? And then you realize, like, actually, there's 100 other people that care about this too. 100 turns into 200. It's like you build it brick by brick, and you just kind of like grow your confidence with the creative process and like the mastery of the mind. And I love to talk about the psychology of this because we get so in the granular of the thing that you have to do in the strategy, which is kind of why I love we come from like very different perspectives,
Different points of view,
yes,
perhaps.
well said. I should have you had that one coming. But I think it's actually so important to humanize your struggle and like brush it off, keep it moving, decide, okay, like for Tigre, for example, we have never humanized the brand. It's something that I don't ever really have felt comfortable putting myself as like the main POV. I've always felt like we're about a platform for empowering other artists and like lifting being a new kind of form of media for a lot of artists who felt genreless and haven't really felt that there's been a media platform for them. And so it's actually just something for me that we just have like done it time and time again. I would say the core reason why, our number one reason why we're successful is because we just like really never stopped. We've had a lot of flops. We've had things that probably didn't engage as well, but like we're so committed to the scene and rebranding like world music as people know it and creating more context. And I think that's like the commitment to your universe, you know? It's like, how do you get people to care about the nuance and care about this, you know, what in whatever form that you guys are releasing, you know, your expression. It's such a like important dialogue, and then just like get yourself out of the way because it doesn't serve anybody if you're blocked.
And we will touch a lot on the mental blocks of social media further in this presentation as
There's
well.
so many
Because
blocks.
that's I can't with the mental blocks. You could go to the next slide, please.
Oh yeah, this is a
Oh
good one.
yes, this was a very good thing about attention that we stopped. And
The audio should work on this one because it worked in.
can
Yeah.
we press play? Oh,
Okay, well, just imagine he's singing. Oh, I forgot that this was the.
okay. So we can
soundbite.
just walk you through it. Do you wanna give them a little rundown, or do you
Yeah,
want me
of
to-
course. Well, I mean, you saw at the beginning, right? So he spent $741 on rope. The artist is named Joe P, and basically, I think has over 33 million views. And the most creative. Well, yeah, now it's 33, but it's a really creative way to publish his new song, you know, and it's like it just reminds you that creativity is king, and there's so many ways to do this. So yeah, this one was something that really caught my
Yeah,
attention.
there's really nothing off limits, and it doesn't need to be something like this. It's just like going back to your testament, the era of saying new music out Friday, streaming all platforms. Like, yeah, you can do that, but no one's gonna care really. Like, it's like, what are you doing for your audience that's gonna want them to subscribe or stream when your song is out Friday? It's something like this. Obviously, it doesn't need to be as this is an anomaly. This I've never seen anything like this
know.
before, but it works. It's like the push and pull of social media and just engaging content and figuring out how you can tastefully interpret that for your own brand. If you're an artist, if you're a brand or an emerging brand or in health and wellness, whatever it may be, just figuring out how you can interpret something engaging in the first like few seconds of the video is like really key when it comes to having success. And
To be fair, I took a deep dive on this guy's page, and like this is the coolest thing he has. So I think there's just something to be said that you have to just keep trying things, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And he like, yeah, spoiler alert, the card doesn't pull him out. So
you could go to the next slide. Okay. So wrapping up on these three topics is uniqueness, and I don't know what's gonna be next. Okay. So this is obviously just being authentic and allowing yourself to shine. So taste is a little bit more stylized, and how your aesthetic and your creativity through your brand is going to shine, but this is you. This is the mirror. This is what you see every day, and who you're going to show up as online, and how that's going to resonate with your audience is you. It's your uniqueness. And I think this can also be interpreted from a brand perspective, where what as a brand are you providing, or what types of experiences are you providing for your audience that are unique, that they can't get anywhere else. Can you go to the next slide? Yeah, so I don't know why this didn't update, but just Picture you're at Lot 11 skate park. How many people have been to Andrew Music Club, Lot 11, or the rave that we do every Labor Day weekend? Yeah, so that's something really unique, in my opinion, that we as a brand collaborate with other collectives in the city to provide a really cool experience that you really can't do in many other places. I've never been to a rave at a skate park under one of the biggest highways in America, and I think it's the coolest thing ever. And so using that as an example of a unique thing that you could do from a like party planning perspective within reason, obviously, I just think that that was something cool that I wanted to share that we do that I think is super unique. And what makes you you? The mirror.
Building community. I love talking about this. I really consider myself a serial community builder. I think it's just like from my own personal experience of wanting, well, I moved to Miami without having any friends. So there's that. And there's a feeling of like, how do you create a sense of place with, yeah, just like feeling like these are your people, right? Like I think we all have such a like deep feeling of wanting to create that. And yeah, that feel for me like in our team, we've kind of like all identified everybody's superpower. This is something like you'll find me doing till I'm dead. So I think people get really focused on like really building an audience, and I think it's really just like thinking about it and like how do you find your people. You can go to the next slide. I mean, this is best said here. A great brand isn't about self promotion, it's about creating a space people want to be part of. And, now that's, in person, digitally. And when you think about that, I think it's great to like really download. What is your why? Like, why are you doing this thing? Why do people care? I think in some of our core values, like inclusivity, genre blending worlds, emotional connection, musicianship has always been things that we've been like so drawn to. When we were in the pandemic, we were doing jams. I mean, I don't even know. There was like 2 years of doing unbelievable jams, and there was a feeling of like, wow, this really, really connects me to like something that it feels larger than me. And then, we ended up doing a lot of really cool things with that. We ended up launching a label. We recorded a lot of the things we were doing. It was a cool place to kind of like also beta test like collaborations, see things that like people would connect with, put people together that maybe wouldn't have normally put together. There was so many things I think that also as a producer, I kind of connected to my inner child again, and there was a feeling of just like, what does it feel like to play? And like we're all in the music industry, we're all like massive, like music lovers at heart, and sometimes you get so caught up in the minutia of the thing that you're building that you kind of like lose sight of your relationship to music. I don't know how many people can relate to that, but that was a big thing.
I can.
Yeah, I mean it's hard, right? Because like you're in it because of this, and then you're just like, that there's like so much ahead and so much to do, but I
Get a
think
little lost in the sauce.
I know, and that's why I think like this is a really cool way to always like tap you back into like it's not that serious, like this is like what we're about. So, yeah, what's the next slide? Okay, yes. Your brand lives in people's minds, not just online. I mean, I kind of just spoke to all this, but I think it's about deepening your emotional connection with people. Collaboration as a growth strategy, this has been a big thing for us. Partnering with other creatives to expand your reach organically. I think not just your reach, I think your vision as well. I think the more that you do things, you get clear, you kind of like attract your partners, your allies. People get to see the thing you're doing. You could begin to find, I think, different creatives that like see what you're doing and can really be part of shaping and molding that. This has been a huge thing for us, and I think it's like you continue to refine it as you do it, and yeah, and then the 1,000 true fans rule. I know you got something to say about this.
Yeah, I love this. I actually read a book about this. It was called The Art of Influence. And in addition to that, I think that something really important for every single person in this room to remember is that you cannot get lost in the world of analytics, because when you show up on social media, it can be really discouraging when you feel like your whole life and your success is quantified in shares, likes, comments, engagement, whatever. But just staying tethered to reality, because getting 200 likes or 100 likes, there are 200 people in this room. That's a lot of people. And I think there's a constant comparison and constant just game that you have to play with yourself, which is super raw and super real, and like something that I feel like a lot of people struggle with. I know it's something that personally I've struggled with throughout my relationship with social media, but I think that also with this we could talk about like the downfall of a viral moment, or everybody chasing a viral moment, or you having a moment that gets millions of views and whatever, which in the moment feels amazing. But when was the last time you saw a viral clip that like you clicked on their profile and you were interested about what they have to say or what they have to do? It's like you are a blip in a moment, and that's not something you want to be when you're trying to build a lasting brand.
Yeah. I mean, I think humanizing this is like such an important thing. I think it takes you out of the trying to always chase that, you know? Because, like, this is a beast. Every 3 seconds, you're on to the next. So it's like, how do you build resonance in a deeper way that I think is like really the KPI rather than followers? Because resonance is something that just like is just so much more profound and has more longevity.
I agree. We could go. Oh yeah. So now we're gonna get into some just I think more philosophical, psychological analyzing of the creative process and how we share it. And yeah, I think that when creating, it's really important to come up with a flow that works for you, and a flow where you're able to stay consistent without compromising quality and without compromising the message that you have and your core values. So whether that's once a week, 5 times a week, and also like also prioritizing your mental health, super important. But also just learning how to create and post on the fly, because something you need to remember is that it's not that deep also, because like planning out your content, being strategic with your content is valuable, but also like you said earlier, it's a muscle that you have to exercise. And it's like if you're an artist, it might be awkward for you to take somebody behind the scenes to a studio session or something, because that's such an intimate moment that you're in your creative flow, you're in your creative process. But people love that. People love to see the behind the scenes and love the creative process. So like a muscle, you got to work it out in order to make it a little bit more accessible, I guess. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay,
totally. Yeah,
cool.
of course.
We could go back one more. Sorry. Okay, yeah. And with that, also just saying that social media doesn't need to be just for promotion. It is where you can show up as yourself and allow your audience to better understand you from any avenue. I think that that's important. We've talked about that through being authentic, showing up, showing your style, and also just not being afraid to do it. And that's the psychological boundary I think that a lot of people struggle with. I don't want to generalize, but I would say that's
God,
confident.
yeah.
Just I'm confident saying that there is this weird like ego and shadow in yourself involved that's like, ugh, why should I do this? Like everybody's doing that, but it's like, so what? Just because something feels saturated to you doesn't mean there's no room for you to shine. I saw an analogy about this. It was like, it's like jeans. Like there are so many different styles of jeans, so many different brands of jeans, but everybody wears jeans and loves jeans. It doesn't need to be just one thing, you know? And I think that by just doing it and getting out of your own way is the biggest way to
Experimenting,
Yeah.
trying so many different styles. I mean, you might not be the talking head content creator, right? Like it's like finding your lane of expression with storytelling that you really feel resonates, and you just have to try a bunch of stuff. Experimentation is such an important part of this. I'm curious to ask the audience actually, what's one piece, if anybody would like to share, what's one piece of work you hesitated to share but glad you did? Does anybody have anything to share with that? Yeah, go for it. Yeah, you.
Hey y'all, my name is Lucas. I'm a part of Moments Matter, a nonprofit here in South Florida about a year ago. So recently we kind of hesitated on doing UGC content. So like getting in face, showing the faces of like the brand who was working with the nonprofit. And at first we just actually did a couple posts this past week where we were using a lot more interface and actually interviewing the people that were helping out. And at first I was kind of hesitant because I still trying to learn how to do the content and editing stuff, but it worked out working pretty well. So it was just kind of something that I hesitated at first, but was able to kind of actually put into place. Yeah.
Awesome. Love to hear it. Yeah, go ahead.
We got one more.
Hi, hi. My name is Esper. 2022, I did a release party for my EP, and it was my first time ever trying to put together an event. So there was the whole doubts of, oh, is anyone gonna show up in the first place? And then 2 days before that, Kanye West decided he was gonna do a listening party that same day. So I was like, oh, for sure, no one's gonna show up. But people showed up, and we had a great time. And that getting over that doubt was one thing that was great, but it also helped. You said something about numbers and what 200 people looks like. This room is 200 people. I found out later that it was like 50 people who showed up, and that really puts into perspective what 50 people looking at you and saying, coming up to you, telling you they enjoyed your song, and then it really humanizing the numbers and not getting caught up in the aspect. What does it mean when somebody spends money on you and you have a job and you work, and so you know what it's like when you spend that money to have 50 people come out and do the same for you. So I was really glad that I took that risk on myself and trusted in the people I knew.
That's amazing. And I think also, like, just to your testament of, yeah, everybody make some noise. Just as a testament to that, it's like, if you have an audience of 50 people and you show up for them every day, they will show up for you, and they'll tell their friends, and they'll pull up next time, and it'll be bigger. And if you just repeat that same process, you're building such a real community rather than something that's like flashy and cool on the internet that like isn't real life, you know?
And your own confidence. I mean, what a like teacher in that, right? That you got to like see that you can do that. I mean, that's like the relationship with the process, which I mean, I just love to like really drive that home because we just have such an internal dialogue, and it's like it's just us having that main character conversation. I think if I would have been really scared to all the things, I mean, I remember early on, it was like, you're doing music in South Florida for indie underground artists that don't tour. It was like this massive feeling of like, what am I doing? But South Florida's like geography is actually something that I think is an incredible opportunity. I became like a master student of how difficult South Florida is when it comes to, I think, more emerging artists. And it's actually just something that we've now become is like, that's a thing we love to do, is really, I have a cool, humble brag that we booked Jesse Reyes for a farmer's market like 8 years ago. And there was a feeling of like everybody you love was local at some point, And so there is a feeling of like having conviction with the thing that you care about. And like now we've, become great marketers. Like, we did a lot of, I would say like a decade, it was free entry with RSVPs. Like those emails were built brick by brick. Now I think it's over 50,000 emails. And it was such a grassroots approach, of like show by show. We didn't win them all, but there was more and more people that showed that like they cared about the whatever, concert we were doing. And we've done so many different things. And I think it just like allows you to be constantly playful with how you want to be, I think, in your expression. So yeah. Yes, we did this one. So you go next.
And here we go. Just looking at this kind of stresses me out, but social media can be overwhelming, and there are so many different platforms that I feel like one of the biggest questions I receive is, where do I even begin? And with all of this going on and all of these different platforms and not knowing where you should tap in, my general rule of thumb is to have to really go all in on one account or one platform and to have a presence on all of them. So focus on one, have a presence on all. Whether that's putting all of your energy into Instagram, promoting your show. I'm going to just use like an artist approach here because I think there's something valuable about each one of these platforms that as long as you understand them and understand their purpose, you can utilize them as a tool rather than be stressed out and not want to touch them. But say Instagram is where people get information, right? You post a party, you promote a show, that's where they first hear about it. Then they go to talk about it on Twitter, and that's where the discourse happens. People talk about it there, and you can further promote it there and even more. And then, yeah, TikTok is there. What I love about TikTok is that you don't even need to promote the party, but if somebody goes to the party and they're having a damn good time, they're going to post about it. And that's organic content for your brand. And something that I've experienced with Factory Town is we haven't yet put a ton of time and energy into the TikTok account. And that's just for bandwidth, but that's changing now. But what's great about that is that you look up Factory Town on TikTok, and there are thousands of videos just from people going to every event. Get ready with me for Factory Town. This is what I'm wearing to Miami Music Week. Oh my gosh, the park stage last weekend was crazy. Just all of these organic, flowing videos that will inherently make people want to make content about this because that's what's happening. So for Music Week, that's like all we'll see on the internet, and we'll just cross post and whatnot. But I think something to take away from that case study exactly is just like understanding brand strength. And if you want your brand to be able to stand on its own 2 feet without you monitoring it on other platforms, is you got to make people want to talk about it, if that makes sense. Because you can talk about your brand all you want, but what are other people saying about you on other platforms too is just as or maybe even more important than what you have to say, because that's what spreads in the ether audience.
100%. I think for us, we definitely don't have the bandwidth as a small startup to focus on all of them. We really, actually, we didn't speak about this, but with the viral moment that always comes with a downfall is we've had a couple of them with just artists that we love and promote, and it went viral. And the downside to that was like we actually lost a lot of our Miami reach, and so I think right now we're around like 10 to 15 local Miami reach. But I'm so grateful that we have always had our local email list because that actually kept us heavily locally engaged. We were always doing really cool like culture radar, curations of like cool things happening around town, keeping us as a thought leader in that. But I think as you're doing different things, it's so important to not have one that you're heavily reliable on because we've shifted now with our strategy with Instagram, but I think it could happen to anybody. A viral thing is like it loses your whole connection to your like deeper community because people don't even know who you are. It's like they just saw this thing and that's kind of what happened. So yeah.
So yeah, now we're going to talk about how to keep it moving consistently because like we talked about earlier, it's finding a groove that works for you, but also you could go to the next slide. I think you were going to talk about this first one.
I mean, yeah, I guess it was funny because it was the social media icons that were like my eye was twitching and I was thinking like, we didn't get into all of this to be like social media robots. Actually, when I take myself out of all of it, I'm like, what does it look like to build a life you love? In the end, like you guys, like this is your most honest work, your creative expression. And how do you make this be a thing that you can monetize and like live off of? And I think it's like such an important thing to constantly ask and navigate, like, is this aligned with that? And of course, there's tons of things that you don't like to do that it's part of that process. But that keeps it really clean with knowing like, oh yeah, like this is gonna be part of the thing that I'm always doing, and you just refine. Like there was a time where artists were our clients and I was like, oh wow, we want to help artists. They are not our clients. We want to like actually empower them. So the platforms like build to be a voice for artists, and we realized brands and real estate developers, and we kind of like shifted on who our clients are. And I think it's just important to adapt to that so that you can know like, okay, this wasn't the right approach. How do I continue to refine? I know for me, like doing a social media brand is not a space of joy. Like, it's something we need to do, and I'm so happy to have somebody amazing on my team that is her superpower. But I think audience development and thinking around like how do we build more of a world for emerging artists, especially that are making their Miami debut, especially that are trying to reach wider audiences first time coming from Mexico or Colombia, and realizing like, yeah, that's actually a really cool space for us to be as partners to artists. So I only say that because this conversation can have a lot of anguish around like, how am I going to do this thing? And I think it's important that you begin to like really ask yourself how to make it joyful, because it can be. Yeah, so.
I think you could go back one side, sorry. I'm going to combine these two because thinking about what you said about making it joyful and finding joy in it, it's also about letting it empower you, because nobody in the world is doing what we're doing here in Miami. Nobody's putting on the amount of shows per day nonstop, like comparing like Basel, Music Week, and just like having such a community here that isn't directly within the ecosystem that I've worked with and that you've worked with.
Yeah.
There really is so much going on, which means that there's a seat for everybody at the table. There's room for everybody to succeed, and allowing the fast-paced lifestyle of this city to empower you, because you do have to hustle and you got to embrace the hustle.
I mean, arguably, Miami is one of the best cities to be a creative entrepreneur. Like, you really can be a big fish in a small pond. I actually feel like the number one thing Miami needs are more leaders, especially in creative spaces. And I think it's just like such an exciting time to be refining with that, because I feel like you can go to so many cities and you feel like so much is happening, and here you can like build your worlds and feel empowered and confident that you can be, leading that. And I think there's just like something really cool about feeling like you can have your grain of, I don't know, your footprint, Mm-hmm. So yeah.
And our last topic is patience, because something that everybody I think struggles with is the immediate gratification, or stripping that back and not having that. So just really remembering to enjoy the process and to show up for your audience and show up for yourself every day, and not let the numbers discourage you, because like we talked about earlier, 50 people is a lot.
Yeah.
And if you get 50 people every couple weeks or month or whatever, not even talking about followers, just people in your audience, just showing up authentically and nurturing what you have in front of you. I'm going to say a quick like case study or example, not even a case study, just like considering the best new artist category today for the Grammys. I'm like, I've been listening to all these people for like 5-10 years, and it's like Krungbin was a best new artist, and I'm pretty sure Krungbin played 3 points in like 20, I don't know, 17, 18, 19, one of those 3 years. And like Chapel Rowan getting signed over a decade ago, and then now just winning best new artist. Like, what do you mean by that? But it truly is a testament to show up every day and not let up or give up, because I'm like, I could go on about the pop girls forever. I'm like, Brat, hello.
I mean, so much. I feel also like the creating process and the sharing process are just like two very different states of mind. And it's so important to like give yourself grace. There's a time for both. And I think you got to get like really good at the creating, the thing that you want to put out into the world. Why do people care? How do I get more, people to listen? There's like, of course, the Miami community, then there's the world online, and there is just something to be said, like they're so intense in doing both, and like really being able to drop into a place that like, this is your forever life, none of it that matters that much, and it's like you want to have
enjoy the ride.
Yeah, like have this be something that I think you want to keep on doing, and not just like have this dread of, now what do I do?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And just staying calm, embracing the discomfort, the unknown, all of the weird feelings that come with the things that social media projects on you. Welcome them with warm arms, understand them, and keep it pushing. That's what you got to do.
Love that.
The Q&A? Well, perfect, because that's where we are right now. So now we are going to open up the floor for some questions and hopefully have some answers.
First hand up was right there. If you could just help me pass that back. Thank
Hi, my
Hey.
name's Ben. Current DJ alias is Beta Minor. I've had a million different projects. And that DJ name is now 20 years old. And I'm rebranding because I've made very different types of music, down-tempo, Native American poetry, techno, house, dubstep. I've made everything. And now I live here, and I have for the last 5 years, and I want a new brand. So I'm changing my name. Do you have any tips for launching a new brand with an existing audience, small that it is, and retaining and then transitioning to a new project?
So I actually managed an artist who did that exact same thing. And through her rebrand and her experience and what we built together was really kind of just using it as a symbol of maturity, right? Because it's like whatever your brand was in the past was how you felt in the moment and was valid then and was what you wanted. And it's important to pay dues and pay respect to that version of yourself and your brand, but also being able to turn the page and to move forward and to welcome, evolve, welcome the maturity and next step of your brand, I think, by flipping the switch on them. I think if that part of you is done, then take the parts from it that you want and evolve and really show up authentically and undeniably and relentlessly as that new project. Visually and everything that we talked about today. Do you have anything else that you want to add?
I mean, I'd love to actually hear the music, but I think a lot of people are fusing genres and genre bending. I think it is, you said a lot of things though, so I think it's actually kind of really good to get a little more refined and clear. Sometimes when you try to cater to everybody, it's just like you're being inauthentic, I think, to like your creative vision and of what you can really do. So yeah, I think it's great to be both and also just like get clear on that too.
You can hold on to that. Okay, yeah.
Hi, I got the next mic. uh, first of all, I just wanted to say thank you so much. I feel like this conversation just wasn't just a piece of the cake, it was a whole cake. My name is Annette. I am the co-founder of Panamia Club, South Florida's first hyperlocal social platform. My other co-founder is here with me. So my question is, as someone building a platform that is meant to engage with people in South Florida, I very much think about the community as my co-creators. And as you're developing a brand that interacts with the real world, which can be unpredictable, how do you intentionally design your brand to invite your community to get involved in your movement and then see it as their own as well?
Love that. Great question. Man, for me, it's like the music is always like number one protagonist. Like it really is something we lead with, a lot of the stuff that really inspires us. But of course, like I mean, we've done so many. We've been doing a lot of secret parties and secret DJ sets, like really creating a sense of intimacy of knowing who our community is. But you know, I think getting to a place of I'm sorry. Your question was how to develop your audience in South Florida.
And also how to get them to like subscribe to it as
Subscribe.
if it there was their own, right?
Yeah, like not just be involved in your projects, but also like they themselves feel as though they are a part of your project.
Yeah.
Like they themselves like have some ownership over it.
And what is your organization doing? I guess like your thesis.
So we are essentially building a search engine tool for every small business owner, every creative, every organization that is locally based in South Florida. So our goal is for people to use this tool as much as possible and see it as a way to interact with their own community.
Got it. A search engine tool for
Everything local here in
everything.
South
Got
Florida.
it. Okay, so like a local directory.
Yes.
Got it. Okay, cool. Awesome. Man, you have your work cut out for you. I mean, I think there's so much there, right? It's like you're targeting local businesses, but you need other, I think consumers to use it. I think brand awareness is such an important thing. Are you doing like mixers and you're doing things? Yeah, I mean, I think so much of this is like grassroots building relationships with all of your partners in directory, showing your value and how you guys provide a value so niche. I think obviously people have Google, so having you guys be the experts and the filter of a really dope curated local directory. So when people come from New York, they're working with your directory to make sure those are really powerful case studies and how I think you guys can really be valuable. We actually did a lot of this work when we were doing Miami Flea and local flea markets. West Elm would come here, and then they would end up using a lot of those vendors in their stores. Really cool hotels would come and use those artisans into their gift shops. I think developing something that shows that you guys are an incredible filter and powerful case studies that everybody wants to sign up to your directory will make people feel like committed to working and partnering with you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
For that.
I think we should give some love to this side of the room a little bit.
And it'll be like the final question. And then I'm going to move them into the green room and we can line up and you guys can have some one-on-one.
Hello.
Hey.
Thank you so much. I am a Nicaraguan American artist. I grew up in Miami, and so I am a huge fan of Tigre sounds. I am a big email girly, so I just read. I love all the articles. And so when you were building this from the ground up, it is your baby. However, we cannot do anything alone. So how did you manage maybe like the expectations of the team? Like, were you putting out money in the beginning to have roles fulfilled? Or was it more of a collaborative effort? And then how did that change?
Of course, great question. One, thank you for the kind words. Well, the great thing about our model is we're a hybrid model. So a lot of the creative agency and brand work we do fuels a lot of the community work and the things that we do kind of in terms of the more like media things. We ended up finding writers from around the world that write about music scenes in their cities and, like really creating more nuance and context around a lot of the songs that are being sampled and who these artists are and giving people like a deeper, broader understanding. I think as we started to have more connection and resonance with people that were caring about this, we were able to find, more partners and inevitably was building, a lot of, I would say just like momentum with what we were doing, more readership. We luckily have been able to, if that was the only thing we were doing, it would be probably very tough, but we constantly have been doing, we're promoters, we do some talent booking, we do a lot of production, a lot of content, so we have multiple revenue streams and how we're able to, I think, do some of our, more just like community service of providing a lot of content. And so I would encourage you, I guess, kind of looking at your business as an artist and how you can diversify things. So some things are for the love and you continue to do them, and other things that can help propel you on a more sustainable path forward.
It's a great question. I was going to say, is there any more time for any questions? Okay. Well, thank you all so much for being here and for showing up.
Thank you.
With the eager and willingness to learn. I hope you learned something. And if you have any more questions, I'll be outside if you want to stick around and sync with Izzy or myself. We're happy to help answer anything. I know that time was we maximized and filled our time. But thank you all so much for being here.
Thank you guys.
Bye.
All right, the next seminar is going to start in about 5 minutes. Mixed down session with Amo, but we are going to move these ladies to the green room. If you have any final questions for them, you can meet us on the left side of the club, and we'll get you guys lined up.